Hey YouTube, you're watching AI Addict. We often review EVs on our channel, and today we have the original Tesla Roadster, which we're very excited to review, and we cannot wait to show you everything that this vehicle has in store.
This is the first car that showed the world that EVs can be not only economical and good for the planet, but also fun and exciting.
What's really unique about this Roadster compared to modern day Teslas is that when you open up the trunk, you can actually see all the components that enable this vehicle to drive. You have a long skinny box up here that Tesla calls a power electronic management system. However, most people at home would probably refer to this as an inverter. Additionally, in the back, you actually have a 52 kilowatt hour battery that's capable of propelling this vehicle to 0 to 60 in just under 4 seconds with a top speed of 125 miles per hour. I think Tesla did a really good job squeezing all these components into a nice form factor that allows ample room for storage as well. Some interesting facts about this Tesla is they only made 2,500 of them. Additionally, you might think to yourself, this looks like a Lotus, but in fact, Lotus only offered up the chassis and no more than 10% of the parts on this car are shared with Lotus. Additionally, this is the first electric vehicle that came to market that brought liquid cooling to the game, which is something that all modern EVs use today. When you get inside the Roadster, you'll notice it's not like a typical Tesla that has one center screen that allows you to mitigate all options of the car from one simple place. For instance, on the left, there's a physical switch to change the lights because there is no automatic lights in this car. There's even a button for the front because there is no center screen. Tesla did a really good job in this interior while also keeping it to the basics. And I have to admit, there is no lack of carbon fiber on this interior and I'm loving it. It's quite spacious. As far as I put my feet out, I actually can't touch the end. The closest comparison I can think of when I sit inside this vehicle is an Aptera, which most people probably haven't sat in, but it does feel exactly like the same amount of space, room, and form factor. And if you don't know what the Aptera is, there's a video right here of us reviewing it, and I really do suggest you checking it out because it is a fantastic vehicle. We're fortunate enough to have Michael, who's the owner of this Roadster. So do you want to explain to us how you charge on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, you can't take it to a supercharger, unfortunately, so it's AC only. When you go home, you can plug it into a dryer outlet. The Roadster takes its own charging adapter. It has 2 pins on the side and 1 on the top and the bottom, and it plugs in by a right twist, and it locks on. This adapter that we have here allows you to go to any Tesla destination charger. With a high power wall connector, you can go up to 80 amps. That's 19.2 kilowatts on AC. That's the most you can get. There are aftermarket options where you can connect to CHAdeMO. That gets you DC in, DC fast charge, up to 50 kilowatts.
Interesting. Has it been a struggle for you driving this car and not being able to use the supercharging network?
It takes a little bit of route planning to do that. Factor at least an hour in, maybe if it's a 6-hour trip, say an hour and a half, 2 hours charging maybe. And it's a little bit of a hunt. Sometimes they're open, sometimes they're not listed right, sometimes they're broken, yeah.
Sounds a little bit like Electrify America right now.
Yeah, that's true. It has options to charge faster and slower like other cars, but actually has a storage mode, and that's really helpful. It has a storage mode that lets you keep the battery level over a month time period. And then Tesla's adapter to go to J772 gets you to any other plug.
Most people don't know the Roadster came equipped with a 2G cellular modem to monitor the vehicle's diagnostic system, which is unfortunately no longer supported today. Luckily, a clever owner figured out a way to develop an onboard vehicle monitoring system that fixed to a pre-existing diagnostic port to enable 4G support. With the OVMS, Roadster owners now have access to a third-party app that displays valuable vehicle data, such as charging and battery info, access to a vehicle status tab, the option to see the vehicle's location, as well as detailed messages and vehicle history alerts.
Just twist like a normal car, and you can hear the clicking. You hear the relays click, and then you can hear the brake booster, and then it's going to give you some chimes. That's the first chime to know it goes into neutral, and it's going to say if you want to shift into drive, it's going to throw an error that you need to take the brake off. So the car talks to you. It'll talk to you a little bit through these beeps.
So this is very firm. It's a very firm car.
It's a stiff ride. It's meant to be compliant. Yeah, it's not a soft. You'll hear it here. Bumps is like, it feels like it's breaking apart.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you hear this massive, like when it hits a pothole, you hear this huge thump, but it's supposedly fine. Like it takes these pretty well. Yeah, this is much more Spartan. This is your
Spartan
raw experience. I like is you can hear the motor noise, and that's not a fake. Yeah. It's not like a sound. That is actually the motor. They actually recorded the sound for Batman.
For like that big.
The Bat Bike. pulls a little bit, you know, Gramps has still got it. Cool thing they did is they actually used the AC system to enhance the cooling of the battery because the fans aren't necessarily enough, so they use the AC system to extract heat out faster. It's the first car that does that, and no other car did it up until that point because they had you know, the 200 kilowatts in this tiny package. PEM, the original PEM, actually the internals are AC propulsion. You can actually see on the side it has their patent numbers on the side.
Okay.
Later versions, the 2.0 is when they actually had the original Tesla PEM.
And you're right now in a 1.5.
This is a 1.5.
Okay.
Yeah. So this has the AC propulsion one. And actually, to some degree, people think it's a little bit more reliable. They use a lot of mil-spec connectors, aircraft grade connectors. Like the fan connectors don't wear out as much. Just some things like that are a little more reliable.
Do you want to explain to our audience at home what the difference between the 1, the 1.5, and the 2, and everything like that would be?
Yeah. So the first car that they developed was the 1.0. And that was during their beta phase. So that was essentially the first 30 validation prototypes they made with a 2-speed transmission. But the problem was these 2-speed transmissions just kept breaking. The Borg-Warner transmission couldn't handle the torque. For the test versions, they locked it in the 1-speed, and then they just eventually convert all into single speed that runs the first gear through 125 miles an hour, and they up the power a little bit. The later version, 2.0, starts at year 2010. So the first 2 years was a 1.5.
Okay.
2.0 is 2010 on to 2011, and it's visually the same, but they just changed it out. They had the Tesla design PEM, I think a few extra suspension options, but it's visually very similar. 2.5 is the face uplift version.
Oh, so they actually did a facelift. Okay.
Yeah, they did a facelift, and that's the one with the side vents, and it's a little more aggressive looking.
Okay.
But they came out with a version called the 3.0 battery, which is an upgraded battery.
Okay.
That takes you to 80 kilowatts.
Oh, okay.
80 kilowatt hours.
That must have been very helpful for a lot of people at the time.
Yeah, people get 350 miles of range.
Thank you so much for watching today's walkthrough of the original Tesla Roadster.
If you enjoyed the content, do feel free to like or subscribe, as it does help us out. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.